Om. 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Veena ji, will you do the invocation, please? Gita Dhyana Mantra.
जी सर। प्रापार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धार नीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनि कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा धुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदि कैवर्तक केशवः पाराशर्यवच सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिनः श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुत स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुसुरासुरगण देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः।
Om. Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Harihi Om. So, till now, in chapter 13, verse number 8 to 12, he has given us a whole bunch of practices, starting with amanitvam, madambitvam, and going up to the point of saying that you have to look at the entire set of this as practices, and if you look at them, etad jnanam iti proktam ajnanam yadatonyatha. This is what is knowledge. Now, this is knowledge. That's not knowledge. It is the practice that will lead to knowledge. So, see, this is um, quite often we say, no, you've just boarded a flight to, let us say, Delhi, and a friend calls you and says, "Are, will you be able to come today?" Now you are still in Bombay, the flight has not yet taken off, but you say, "I'm in Delhi today." Correct? In our language, we say, "I am in Delhi today." You're not in Delhi. Now you're not actually telling a lie, but you are basically saying that you have started the process of going to Delhi, and therefore you will ultimately reach Delhi. So Sri Krishna uses the same linguistic methodology to say, this is what is jnanam, anything else is ajnanam. When he says this is jnanam, it doesn't mean that this is knowledge. Now, just being by saying, "Oh, I am," because we know that he says shraddhavan labate jnanam. Now, what jnanam is that? Is that the same as adambitvam being jnanam? No, obviously not. to Shraddha, as well as Adambhitvam, Amanitvam. All of these are tools that take us to knowledge, is what he's saying. Now, saying, fine, having decided that this is what are the tools, we have to understand what is the goal that we want to go to. Because unless we know the goal, we all want to get somewhere, isn't it? We are all the time going somewhere. None of us are still. We are all the time, human beings are always wanting to be on the move, right? And therefore we say, oh, he's a go-getter. He's a go-getter means he's a great guy. He's a guy who goes and gets things, right? So instead of being a go-getter, can I be a still sitter? So I can't be a still sitter. And we are human beings, we are of our nature, and therefore Krishna understands that, and therefore he requires us to give us a goal. So he tells us in chapter 13, he says, Jneyam yat tat pravakshyami, Jneyam yat tat pravakshyami, yajñātvamritam ashnute. Yajñātvamamritam ashnute, it should be ashnute. Yajñeyam yattat pravakshyami, yajñātvamamritam ashnute, anadimat param brahma, na sattanna saduchyate, na sattanna saduchyate, anadimat param brahma, na sattanna saduchyate, jneyam yattat pravakshyami, yajñātvamritam ashnute, anadimat param brahma, na sattanna saduchyate, jneyam, that which ought to be known, yat, which, that, tat, pravakshami, I shall now reveal, vakshami, I shall reveal completely, pravakshami, yat, which, jnatva, knowing, amritam, immortality, ashnute, you arrive at, you reach, you achieve, anadi, beginningless, matparam, there are two meanings here. Matparam means under me, one meaning, and another meaning is matparam, like, immortal like me, Brahma, Brahman, na, not, sat, existent, tat, that, na, not, asat, non-existent, uchyate. So if I take this as a translation, we'll say, I will now reveal to you completely that which ought to be known, and by knowing which you will attain immortality. It is the beginningless Brahman, which lies beyond existence and non-existence. Now let us look at a few things here. I will reveal to you. Fair enough. He will possibly in the next verses, he will talk about that. So we should wait for that. But in the meanwhile, let us look at a few words that he has talked about here. He is saying, number one, he is saying, by knowing which you will attain immortality. What does this mean? He says, Etad viduramritaste bhavanti, Veda says. Etas viduramritaste bhavanti. He who knows this attains immortality. Ved bhi bolta hai. Etat viduramritaste bhavanti. Beautiful line. So this knowing that I will become it. Brahmavit brahmaiva bhavati. By knowing it, I will become it. And because I become it, I will no longer be thinking, I am the mortal body, I am the mortal, the ephemeral mind, I am the even more subtle, continuously changing intellect. I am not my feelings, I am not my thoughts, I am not that which I perceive as this external world. And it's not about an understanding, but it is about a realization that this is how it is. Understanding, every one of us understands. I have told you the story of the Yaksha Prashna, right? Where Yudhishthir goes and is asked, what is the most surprising thing on this world? Have I told you this? So what is the most surprising thing in this world? So Yudhishthir answers beautifully. He says, so I normally put a little bit of a graphic description over here. So he says, I'm standing on the veranda, and every day I stand on the veranda to have my cup of tea in the morning. And in the morning, there are lots of people going underneath, but they are not going on their own. They are being helped to go with four people on, and they are going on their shoulders. And those who are taking them, they are calling out, Ram Nam Satya Hai. And I am very nicely having my tea, thinking, oh, this is for other people. It will never happen to me. Right? The presumption of tomorrow being there is the basic presumption that comes from an identification of the body, mind, intellect, and it comes from a false understanding without realization. Understanding is not realization. I understand that I will die. Do I really know that I will die? I, meaning this body, will die, and therefore I behave that way. So even Yudhishthir, who was so great in his understanding, what happened? So they won the Mahabharata war. Then they won they did the Ashwamedha Yagya. He became a Chakravarti Raja. And he installed a huge bell in the courtyard. And it was told that anybody wins a big victory, please ring the bell. Now, one very old Brahmin came from Ujjain all the way to Hastinapur. And he said, please give me my dakshina. Now, the court proceedings had stopped for that day. You know, the municipal corporation, 1 baje lunch ke baad aiye. Right? Ya kal aiye. So Yudhishthir also said, court band ho gaya, kal aana, kal achhi tarah se kar dunga, kal double kar dunga, don't worry. Suddenly the bell started ringing. And everybody rushed out. They saw Bhim ringing the bell. Arey, Bhim is ringing the bell. He must have gone and killed some big Rakshasa or something. किसको मारा किसको मारा? अरे मैंने किसी को नहीं मारा. बड़े भैया ने एक दिन के लिए मृत्यु के ऊपर विजय प्राप्त कर ली. उन्होंने बोला कल लाना, मैं तुमको कल दे दूंगा. Why is this important? This is important because Yudhishthir, who was supposed to be so intelligent, so knowledgeable, answering the correct answer, giving the correct answer to Yaksha, he himself falls into the same trap and says, I'm sorry, I have identified with the body, mind, intellect. Acharya says, yes, Raghuvi, I've seen your hand, I'll come back to you. So Acharya says, Ma kuru dhana jana yauvana garvam harati nimesha kala sarva. So he's very clear. And therefore he says, Maya midam akhilam hitva. This entire whatever I'm seeing, it is full of Maya. So then I pierce that veil, and once I have experienced it, it is impossible to unexperience it. It is impossible to unlearn it. If I tell you, describe to me the taste of salt, all of us have tasted salt. None of us will be able to describe it. But the moment you say salt, all of us have tasted it right now in our tongues. With no salt present, हमने salt का taste कर लिया. Correct? क्यों? क्योंकि वो experience एक बार होने पर you cannot unlearn that experience. You can relive that experience all the time. Now, if simple thing like salt can do this, then can you imagine what is the greatest Brahman? Brahman, the word Brahman comes from Brihati, that which has expanded, that which is greatest. That, if I have had that experience, can I even forget it for 1 second? Then, therefore, he says, attain immortality. The second point which I wanted to make, and then we'll go to Raghuji's question, is I existed before existence or non-existence. Now, what is this stupidity? ये क्या है? Either there is existence or there is non-existence. So I'm going to ask a scientific question, cosmological question. What was there before the Big Bang? What was there before the Big Bang? Now, Meena ji, don't answer. I just gave you the answer in the last session. What was there before the Big Bang? The answer to that is, the question is wrong. Because the word before means you are measuring time. And time itself came into existence at the time or the point of Big Bang. Space and time both came into existence at that moment of the Big Bang, not before. So at what existed? It is undefinable. It encompassed everything. It is undefinable. आप तो ब्रह्मन के बारे में बोल रहे हो ना? नहीं, मैं बिग बैंग के पहले की बात कर रहा हूँ. नहीं, मगर आप तो ब्रह्मन के बारे में बोल रहे हो. अनडिफाइंड, एनवेलपिंग एवरीथिंग, उसी में से सब कुछ आया. एग्जिस्टेंस भी नहीं था, बट नॉन एग्जिस्टेंस भी नहीं था. That is what he's saying. I am that Brahman that existed before even the word existence could be created. So these are the two important points that are being made in this particular verse itself. While he has not yet even talked about Brahman, he has given us a very beautiful idea as to what he is going to talk about. Right? Yes, Raghuji?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So, two things I wanted to say. First thing is, of course, based on what you just said. And actually, it is very interesting that science has tried to track back the start of time, and all calculations point to a few microseconds after the Big Bang. How they're doing it, but the fact is, even time doesn't go to the Big Bang, it's slightly a few microseconds after. Anyway, that is immaterial. The other point I was raising, which I actually, if you notice, I raised my hand even before you make this point, and that is because you mentioned the same story even before, in just the two classes before or whatever. And it occurred to me that we believe in our immortalities because deep within us, we know that we are immortal. Deep, it's hidden. It's not these layers are sitting above, but it's there. It keeps welling up, and that's why we believe in our immortality. And you then mentioned, after I raised my hand, actually, you mentioned that it is because we are attached to the body, mind, intellect. And the fact is, I feel that, in fact, our sense of immortality comes from that actual immortality. That's the point I wanted to make.
So, I don't know. I believe that it is because I think of myself as a continuity into tomorrow. And when I say I am continuing into tomorrow, I don't recognize anything else other than my body, mind, intellect as me.
No, so that is a derivative. That's a derivative. I believe that continuity tomorrow is because I am continuing into tomorrow and to ever. But the attachment is what brings us to the body, mind, intellect.
So the question, therefore, then again, is that what is that I? Because what you are defining as I is still the body, mind, intellect. Okay. So anyway, so that so now he goes on to verse number 14, and he starts off. Now, please follow these verses, these descriptions very beautifully and very carefully. Attend to them very carefully. Sarvatah panipadam tat. Sarvatah panipadam tat. Sarvatokshi shiro mukham. Sarvatokshi shiro mukham. Sarvatah panipadam tat. Sarvatokshi shiro mukham. Sarvatah shrutimaloke. Sarvatah shrutimaloke. Sarvamavritya tishtati. Sarvamavritya tishtati. Sarvatah shrutimaloke. सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति सर्वतः पाणिपादं तत् सर्वतोक्षिशिरोमुखं सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति. So sarvata, everywhere. Pani, hands. Padam, feet. Tat, that. Sarvata, everywhere. Akshi, sarvatokshi. Sarvata, akshi, sarvatokshi. Sarvata, akshi, eyes. Shira, heads. Mukham, faces. Sarvata, everywhere. Shruti mat. And then loke, shruti mat plus loke, shruti mal loke. That is a sandhi. So, shruti mat, having ears. Loke, in the universe. Sarvam, everything. Avritya, pervades everything. Tishtati, exists. Not only in everything, but in also in all times. Bhuta bhavya bhavat prabhu. Right? In the Vishnu Sahasranam we see Bhuta bhavya bhavat prabhu. Bhuta, Bhavya, Bhavat, in today, right now, in the Bhavishya, as well as in the past, he who pervades. See, there is a story that Agastya Muni, two young boys came to Agastya Muni and they said, we want to become your disciples. So Agastya Muni took them as disciples, Prathamik disciples. And Prathamik disciples in those days, Rishis used to make them do a lot of physical work, not give them any teachings. So they would go around sweeping the floor, repairing the roof, bringing firewood and all that. Until that period of internship is over, teaching does not begin. So once the teaching, they passed the internship very well. They were very diligent students. So now Agastya gave them 2 goats and told them, go into the forest, kill the goat where nobody is watching, and bring back the goat. So they said, Agastya Muni, you will eat the goat? Of course, I love goat. I digested one cannibal Rakshasa who took a form of a goat. Because he took a form of a goat, I digested him. I love to eat goat. Goat is a very good food to eat. So the disciples. So those of you who don't know the story, you can look at the story of Vatapi and Ilvala. So Vatapi was digested by Agastya Muni. And for those who are professing sanitized vegetarian Hinduism, Ilvala used to feed mutton to Brahmins only. Right? And all the Brahmins used to eat and relish this mutton. And then Vatapi would take the form of Vatapi by joining all those pieces, and he would burst out from their stomachs and all the Brahmins would die. Ilwal had a very specific animosity against Brahmins only. And therefore he would feed them mutton, right? Made out of his own brother. So then anyway, so coming back to the goat. So 2 of these goes, one of them came back. He went deep into the forest and he cut the goat and he came back and he said, here Guruji, here is the dead body of the goat. I have killed it at a point where there was not even one sparrow, not even one insect was there in that particular in the forest when I killed it. Nobody has seen this killing. Second boy comes back with the goat trotting behind. And the other one starts laughing, saying, see, he can't obey the Guru's instructions. So the second one comes and says, I went everywhere in the forest, but I could not find a single place where I did not exist. And you had said, kill it where there is nobody. But wherever I went, I was there. And therefore, I could not kill it. The first boy was given the goat and said, this is your prize. Go home, take this goat and feed your family. The second one was given the mantra. Sarvato pani padam. Sarvata Panipadam. I exist everywhere. I am omnipresent, not in the Dvaitic sense. I am omnipresent as consciousness in everything that is there. In some things, the consciousness is more manifest. In others, it is less manifest. That's all that is. But the consciousness exists. When you go to somebody as exalted as Gurudev, when you go to somebody as exalted as Swamiji, you go to somebody as exalted as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, you feel that presence over there, not because he is a different person who has come down from some exalted esoteric region. It is just that the Brahman, the consciousness, has manifested more transparently because the sheets, the layers that we have covered ourselves with, they have been removed. That's all. So in a tree, it is less manifest. In a dog, it is still a little bit more manifest. In a dolphin or an orca, it is a little bit more manifest. And in a human being, it is the highest level of manifestation. In a human being, again, it is the avatar Purusha, the realized master, who is the fullest manifestation of Brahman. Gurudev used to talk about our Param Guru, Sri Tapovan Maharaj, as walking Brahman. Brahman who is walking around. And that energy that he has left behind, if any of you have been fortunate enough to go to Uttarkashi, please go to Tapovan Kutir. Ask for permission to sit inside the kuti, even if you cannot, at least sit near it. And you will feel that vibration. You will feel that presence, even today. He has left behind his so-called energy signature for us to be able to experience that. So, when he says, I am Sarvato Panipadam, Sarvato Akshi, Sarvato Shira, the Vedas also say the same thing, isn't it? Sahasrashirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, Sa Bhumim Vishwato Vritva. I have Vritva. Here he uses the same words. I have covered the entire Bhumim. And I have extended beyond that which you know as the universe. So that is the first level of description that he talks about. Chandogya Upanishad says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Sarvam, and the Ishavasya Upanishad starts with that same line, Ishavasya idam sarvam. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. That realization for us to have, there is a degree of a certain stillness, a certain mental calmness that is required, that can only come through the methodologies that have been given to us in the earlier chapters, whether it is Karma Yoga, whether it is looking at chapter 4, where you're saying each action of it mind becomes a yajna, or you look at chapter 6 and do dhyana, or you look at chapter 12 and you do bhakti. But look, remember, chapter 12 is bhakti only after there is the chapter 3 and 4 have already been crossed. Right? Bhakti without samarpanam, bhakti without seva is not bhakti. Sitting and doing 16 malas a day, 160 malas a day is not bhakti. It is telling your mind. It is telling your mind to become still. But can I do my work and yet keep my mind on that continuously? Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa again wonderfully used to give a beautiful example, saying it doesn't matter for the mother what work she is doing, whether she is sweeping the floor, boiling the milk, washing clothes, serving her father-in-law, making food for the house, but her mind remains on the newborn child. Now, if the mother can do that, can I develop that sort of an attachment to the Nama? And there's no difference between Nama and Rama, huh? No difference between Nama and Rama. Rama is the same as Nama. So just by keeping with the Nama itself is good enough. But then you have to keep it the way we are doing all our activities. That is where you will then say, Everywhere is his hands, everywhere are his feet, everywhere he has heads, everywhere he has faces. His ears are in all places because he pervades everything in this universe. That is the translation of this particular verse. Let us look at verse number 15. सर्वेन्द्रिय गुणाभासम सर्वेन्द्रिय गुणाभासम सर्वेन्द्रिय विवर्जितम सर्वेन्द्रिय विवर्जितम सर्वेन्द्रिय गुणाभासम सर्वेन्द्रिय विवर्जितम असक्तम सर्वभृच्चैव असक्तम सर्वभृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च असक्तं सर्वभृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च सर्वेन्द्रिय सर्व all indriya gunas, right? Indriya guna sense objects here, not the trigunas. Here, the indication is in indriya guna abhasam. Abhasam means perceiver. Sarvendriya guna bhasam. So he says the sense objects, the senses, the sense objects, perceiver of these, sarva, all, indriya, senses, vivarjitam, without all of them. He is without any of the senses. Asaktam, unattached. Sarva bhrit, he who sustains everything, right? He is the bharta. He is the bharta. In the Ganesha Tharva Upanishad, we say tam bharta, tam karta, etc., etc., right? So we use the word bharta. Bharta means he who is the upholder, sarva bhrit, sustainer, cha, and eva, indeed, nirgunam, beyond the three modes, beyond the three gunas. Guna bhoktri, though, and the last cha here means and, it also means even though. Even though. He is the enjoyer of the three modes. So he says, he perceives all the senses and he perceives all the sense objects. But he is devoid of all the senses. He is unattached to everything, and yet he is the sustainer of everything. He is without attributes, but he is the enjoyer of all the product of the three modes of nature. Now, if you go back to another text that we have been studying in, and we did that in our meditation camp, was Dik Drik Drishya Viveka. It has some basic principles which we can look at. Firstly, the seen and the seer cannot be the same. Logical? Right? So I am seeing this laptop with my eye. So my eye cannot be the laptop. That much is logical. The seen has to be outside the seer. And the seer cannot see itself. Three basic principles. Right? Common sense principles. They are nothing very different. Nothing very, you don't have to apply your mind or brain to understand it. But now, can I use these principles to go further? And say, can I see my eye seeing the world? Can I perceive? When I say see, I'm talking of perceive. Can I perceive my eye to be perceiving the world? Now, for example, I think the four of us who are on video, all of us have glasses, right? Spectacles. Now we take off our spectacles. Now, whatever you are seeing is a little different from whatever you are seeing with them. Correct? Can you perceive that your eye is now seeing, but seeing in a little blurred way? Correct? So which means something is seeing your eye. What is seeing your eye? Your mind is seeing your eye. Correct? Your intellect or mind is seeing the eye. Now, therefore, my mind cannot be my eye. Basic principle. Seer and seen are different. Seer cannot see himself. So the mind cannot see itself. Now go one step further. Observe your mind seeing the eye, which is seeing the object in front. Can I do that? Oh, yes. A little bit of practice it may take, but you can do that also. So now I have something which is observing the mind. So it is not the mind. Now, can you go even further and see? Can you bring that ladder one more step? You will find you cannot go further. You cannot go further. So you have hit the wall जहां final subject तक पहुंच गए. Everything else is an object. First verse of Dhrtarashtra Vivek takes us there. Rest of it all is explanation and practices. The first verse of Dhrtarashtra Vivek is what he is talking about right now in this particular chapter. He is saying, now this particular thing that I have is the actual subject, which is observing the mind, which is the mind is observing the eye is observing the object. This, whatever it is, it has no senses. It does not own a mind. It does not have an eye. And yet, it is able to see. The Upanishad very beautifully says, the eye, not the eye, that by which the eye sees, that by which the ear hears, is the consciousness. So here he says, कितना सुंदर से बता रहे हैं, that it is that which is beyond all normal human perception. Normal, when I say perception, that is bound to body, mind, intellect. Can I go to that particular point? Yes, as in a meditation exercise, you can actually do this, what I just now did with you as an exercise. This is something we did in our meditation classes when we were in the camp. And we had people who were originally claiming that they can't even sit for 15 minutes, sitting for more than 2 hours at a stretch, and in this particular state, because they arrived at that bliss. They reached that point where there is nothing but the subject alone. Everything else in this world has become an object. And that subject, it does not have any pani, padam, it does not have any indriya, and yet it is fully aware. What am I aware of? Nothing. I am just aware. I am consciousness alone. I am existence alone. I am Ananda alone. I therefore am Satchidananda. It's still different, a little bit difficult from here to take a jump and go to that point where we will say that the same Satchidananda is in me, is the same in Meena and Veena and Parthoda and Raghu. All of us have the same Satchidananda, and that Satchidananda cannot be differentiated. One more step. That's also possible. Through Vichara, it is also possible. But Vichara will not lead us to experience unless we sit down and get to that state of doing what the Vichara is supposed to do. Not by intellect, but going beyond that intellect. So this is verse number 15. Sarvendriya guna bhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam asaktam sarvavrichaiva nirgunam guna bhoktricha. Verse number 16, last verse for today. Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha acharam charamevacha bahirantascha bhutanam acharam चरमेव च सूक्ष्मवत्त्वात् तदविज्ञेयम् सूक्ष्मवत्त्वात् अविज्ञेयम् दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत् दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत् सूक्ष्मत्वात् तत् सूक्ष्मत्वात् अविज्ञेयम् दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत् बहिरन्तश्च भूतानाम् अचरं चरमेव च सूक्ष्मत्वात् तदविज्ञेयम् दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत् bahir outside, anta inside, cha and bhutanam of all beings, acharam not moving, charam moving, eva indeed, cha, and sukshmatvat due to subtlety, sukshmatvat tat he or that, avijneyam it is not comprehensible, it is not understandable, it is not it is you cannot catch it, incomprehensible. Durastham it is very far away. Cha and antike in very near. Cha also. Tat that. Now this durastha chantike cha is a very very direct Upanishadic statement. He exists outside and inside all living beings. For that matter, living beings are nothing but, for example, one way of looking at it is, you say that this is space, or this is, you're in an ocean and there are fish. So I ask this question quite often: is the fish inside water, or is there water inside the fish? And the answer is both. The answer is both. Exactly that way. We are inside Brahman, Brahman is inside us. We are just moving around inside Brahman, thinking that I am moving. There is nothing moving. Right? This is that difference between the Ghatakasha and the Chidakasha. As long as there is an identification with the Ghata, you think that the Akasha inside the Ghata is different from the Akasha outside the Chidakasha. So the Ghatakasha and the Chidakasha, they are the same, but they are differentiated by the Ghata as long as the Ghata believes itself to be a differentiator. The moment that differentiation, the identification is separated, then Ghatakasha and Chidakasha become the same. And hence he says, therefore, he is very far away. As long as you have body and mind identification, it is very far away. And the moment that identification goes, it is here right now. Antike, right here, right now. The Ishopanishad mantra says, Tad antara asya sarvasya, tad sarvasyasya bahyataha. Tade jati, tad nai jati, tad dure, tad antike. Ishavasya Upanishad. Tade jati, it does not walk. Tad nai jati, it does not walk. Tad dure, it is very far. Tad vantike, it is very near. अरे बाप रे, क्यों कंफ्यूज कर रहे हो? बहुत सिंपल से बोलो ना. एक 400 फॉर्म दे दो, उसके सामने बैठ के मैं फूल दे दूंगा, भाई अच्छा से लोगों का काम के सेवा कर दूंगा. I will be very happy. That is good enough for me. Yes, if that is what drives you, please go ahead and do it. But you have to realize that that is the starting point. There is nothing wrong with it. And don't let go of that starting point. But at the same time, move on. And understand that 400 form that you are worshipping, whether it is Pashankushadhara holding or whether it is Shankachakra holding, it doesn't matter. Whatever that 4 hands are holding, once you have identified that form as a representation of the formless, then you are on the right path. And therefore he says, it walks and it does not walk. It is very far and yet it is very near. So let us stop here for the day. Was there any homework? I don't know. I thought I've been giving homework nowadays, but Arthada is giving a very sweet smile. That means there was definitely some homework which I have forgotten.
This one was the homework. 14 was the homework.
Okay. Very nice. You made me do the homework. So okay, then we have 16 as the homework now, right? No, 16 we have just now done. 17. 17 is the homework. Let me see, just check. अविभक्तं च भूतेषु विभक्तम् इव च स्थितं भूतभर्तृ च तज्ज्ञेयं ग्रश्निषु प्रभविष्णु च. So look at 17 and that is the homework. We will start with the homework. This time I will remember. Let us end. शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम.